The quiet hum of the ventilation system in Lena Vance's cramped, repurposed studio was often the only sound breaking the late-night silence. In her late 20s, Lena was an artist whose outward demeanor belied a quiet, intensely observant soul. She specialized in abstract, conceptual installations, meticulously exploring the vast, often unseen landscapes of human emotion through unusual materials. Her canvases weren't always visible. Sometimes they were composed of sound or light, or even invisible inks that reacted only to specific conditions, revealing their true form under a hidden spectrum. She believed art should evoke profound feeling, not just be passively viewed. Her life was humble, often solitary, a quiet rebellion against the commercial art world she largely avoided. Her unique approach meant her work was often deemed unmarketable, a reality she accepted with quiet resignation, preferring to create alone, losing herself in the intricate process of bringing unseen emotions to tangible form. Her studio, a small, cluttered space, was a testament to her dedication. Discarded prototypes of light-emitting fibers lay beside jars of obscure pigments, all bathed in the flickering glow of experimental lamps. Lena would spend countless hours here, her hands stained with various mediums, her mind a whirlwind of intricate concepts. She avoided the glittering, superficial world of art gallery openings, preferring the solitude of creation. Her art was a reflection of her inner world, a space few were invited to enter. She meticulously kept a detailed journal, not of sketches, but of her emotional responses to various stimuli, the precise feeling of joy, the texture of sorrow, the subtle nuances of hope. These were the hidden blueprints for her art, a secret language she translated into physical form. Despite her own constant financial struggles, her meager earnings from odd jobs barely covering her materials and rent, Lena possessed a profound, selfless generosity. She learned that the Children's Hospital, a beacon of hope for terminally ill children, was struggling to provide therapeutic diversions. Lena quietly volunteered her time, without seeking any recognition or payment. She began creating multi-sensory art installations in their quiet rooms, pieces designed not to be looked at, but to be experienced. She used her unique understanding of sound and light frequencies to create calming, immersive environments, where soft ambient music mingled with subtle, imperceptible light shifts, bringing moments of profound peace and joy to desperate children and their families. This deeply empathetic use of her art highlighted her profound compassion, a stark contrast to the often cold commercial world she inhabited. Subtle threads of mystery were woven into Lena's quiet existence, hints of a profound legacy she was only vaguely aware of. She occasionally touched a small, tarnished silver locket around her neck, a cool, familiar weight against her skin. Inside, nestled against her heart, was a faded photograph of her late grandmother, her eyes gentle and knowing, and a tiny, almost illegible, handwritten schematic for something called a chromatic resonance device. It was a complex drawing of light and sound frequencies, an invention she couldn't fully comprehend. She frequently received anonymous, cryptic letters, the paper thick and textured, smelling faintly of exotic spices and old books, with clippings of obscure scientific art or forgotten philosophical texts that explored the very nature of perception and emotion. She would often mutter cryptic phrases in her sleep. Unseen spectrums, resonant frequencies, fragments of a hidden scientific artistry that resonated with her own intuitive understanding of light and sound. Her personal computer, a powerful machine disguised as an ordinary desktop, ran a unique, highly complex program she designed herself, capable of generating intricate visual and auditory patterns from emotional data, a silent symphony of human feeling. All these were subtle hints, whispers from a forgotten past, of a deeper scientific legacy tied to her family, a legacy she was about to be forcefully pulled into. The quiet, almost sacred space of Lena's studio, usually a haven of creative solitude, was now permeated by a new, chilling tension. The serenity she sought in her art was violently disrupted by a crisis that struck at the very core of her being. Lily, her beloved younger sister, just 10 years old, was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive form of neurological degeneration. The news was a cold, brutal blow, silencing the vibrant internal world Lena so carefully nurtured. Lily's only hope lay in an experimental, non-invasive therapy using specific light and sound frequencies, a cutting-edge treatment that promised a chance at halting the disease's relentless progression. But the cost was astronomical, a sum so vast it made Lena's stomach clench in despair. Their meager insurance offered almost no coverage. Lena's obscure conceptual art, though rich in emotional value, generated virtually no income, leaving her utterly helpless in the face of this overwhelming financial burden. Adding to her torment, the very world she had tried to avoid, the commercial art scene, now delivered a direct, painful insult. Her former high school bully, Mark Thorne, had resurfaced. Mark was now an arrogant, flashy art dealer and the owner of Thorne Galleries, a major commercial gallery known more for its aggressive marketing and unethical practices, rumored price manipulation, exploitation of struggling artists, than for genuine artistic integrity. He embodied everything Lena despised about the commercial art world. Mark still harbored a deep, festering insecurity about his own profound lack of artistic talent, a void he desperately filled with superficial success and a cruel delight in putting others down, especially Lena, whose quiet, undeniable creativity he had always resented. The inevitable confrontation occurred at a major art fair, a chaotic spectacle of commercial art where Lena, against her better judgment, was attempting to showcase her unconventional conceptual work to a small, skeptical audience. Mark, spotting her from across the crowded hall, his face contorted in a sneer of triumph, made a theatrical display of approaching her booth. He stood before her artwork, a subtle installation of light-reactive materials that shifted imperceptibly with ambient sound, and let out a loud, derisive laugh. Well, if it isn't Lena Vance," Mark drawled, his voice loud enough to draw the attention of nearby attendees. He gestured dismissively at her installation. "Still making these useless creations, I see. What is this, Lena? A pile of dust? An empty canvas? Where's the art? Where's the value?" He publicly mocked her lack of commercial appeal, criticizing her pretentious conceptual work and her failure to understand the market. He made condescending remarks about her delusional art, implying it had no real value beyond her own delusions. He enjoyed her discomfort, his eyes gleaming with malicious satisfaction as he watched her quiet dignity crumble. He believed his public shaming would extinguish her artistic spirit once and for all. Lena stood there, her hands clasped, her face burning with humiliation. Her dream, her very purpose, had been brutally dismissed as useless. The public shaming, coupled with Lily's worsening neurological degeneration, pushed Lena to a critical breaking point. She left the art fair, her dreams shattered, the hope for Lily's experimental therapy dimming into nothingness. But amidst the devastation, a profound, chilling resolve began to harden within her. She realized with blinding clarity that her unique art, her grandmother's hidden legacy of chromatic resonance, was their only hope. She had to find a way to make her useless creations undeniably valuable, not for fame or fortune, but for Lily. This was her desperate gamble, a commitment to fight back, not with anger, but with the very genius he had scorned. This was her point of no return. The chaotic energy of the art fair had given way to the quiet, almost sacred solitude of Lena's studio. The scent of clay and obscure chemicals hung heavy in the air, a familiar comfort. Fueled by desperation for Lily and a burning defiance against Mark, Lena abandoned the conventional artistic methods she had once, futilely, attempted to appease her critics. She would not create art to be merely seen. Her new direction was radical, a return to the essence of her unique perception. She began creating an entirely new series of conceptual installations, focusing on the unseen world of human emotion and hidden light frequencies, designed to be felt rather than merely observed. She meticulously sourced and engineered a unique proprietary material, a special composite that subtly reacted to specific emotional wavelengths, emitting imperceptible light variations, generating a faint, low-frequency hum audible only to the most sensitive ears. Each piece became a deeply personal hidden narrative, a silent symphony of feeling. One evening, as Lena worked late, lost in the rhythmic dance of her hands shaping the responsive material, a soft knock came from her studio door. It was Clara, a kind, older woman who worked as a security guard in the building, making her usual rounds. Clara was a quiet, observant soul, often noticing the subtle shifts in the building's nocturnal rhythms. She found a quiet comfort in the occasional low hum that emanated from Lena's studio, a sound she didn't quite understand, but which always left her feeling inexplicably calm. "Still at it, dear?" Clara's voice was gentle, her face etched with a quiet kindness. She walked slowly into the studio, drawn by the subtle ambient light, a glow she couldn't quite place. As Clara approached Lena's new installation, a large, abstract form of a new reactive material, the piece subtly pulsed with an unseen light, generating that faint, almost imperceptible, low-frequency hum. Clara, unknowingly, experienced a profound, calming emotional response. A deep sense of peace washed over her, a quiet serenity that settled in her bones. "Your art always makes me feel so calm, dear," Clara mused, her eyes distant. "Like a gentle light even when I don't see it. It's truly wonderful." Lena, surprised by Clara's accurate description of her internal intent, sensed a profound connection. Clara, a simple security guard, had truly felt her art, perceiving its essence beyond visual limitations. She was a quiet helper, an accidental validation of Lena's radical vision. Meanwhile, news of Lena's new, unconventional, emotional installations began to whisper through the art community. Mark Thorne, ever vigilant for opportunities to dismiss talent, heard the rumors. He scoffed, publicly proclaiming that Lena was delusional, making art for ghosts, and that her work has no place in a serious gallery. He made light of her unconventional methods, viewing them as desperate attempts to gain attention. He subtly attempted to discredit her by spreading insidious rumors that her art was technically unsound or unsafe, subtly implying it emitted harmful frequencies. He viewed her as an irrelevant, desperate artist, utterly unaware of the profound, groundbreaking nature of her work, its scientific ingenuity, or its immense potential market value. He believed her new art was just another sign of her inevitable failure, a pathetic last gasp from a useless artist. The vast, dazzling expanse of Art Basel, the global showcase for contemporary art, was a maelstrom of vibrant colors, towering installations, and a cacophony of hushed critiques. For Lena, her small, obscure stand felt like a tiny island in an ocean of visual clamor. Her subtle, emotionally reactive installations, designed to be felt rather than merely seen, seemed almost invisible amidst the visual spectacle of the surrounding artworks. She stood beside her pieces, a quiet sentinel, disheartened as most critics and collectors glided past, their eyes scanning for the next bold visual statement. Her hope for Lily's treatment, a fragile flame, flickered precariously under the weight of impending failure. Mark Thorne, a predator in a tailored suit, was a prominent fixture at Art Basel, his Thorne Gallery's booth overflowing with commercially successful, albeit shallow, pieces. He reveled in Lena's perceived failure, his smug satisfaction amplified by the public setting. He actively sabotaged Lena's efforts, spreading vicious rumors about her mental state. She thinks her art talks to ghosts, and her unconventional methods. He loudly dismissed her art as unseen junk, ridiculing her lack of tangible beauty, and asserting that true art is for the eyes, not for feelings. He even attempted to physically block potential patrons from her small booth, his fear of her perceived failure not being enough to truly silence her. Lena felt the immense pressure of the ticking clock. Lily's neurological condition was worsening rapidly. The experimental therapy required immediate, astronomical funding, and the clinic had given them a strict deadline. Every passing minute at Art Basel, every uninterested glance felt like a nail in Lily's coffin. Unbeknownst to Mark and to Lena, a figure of immense influence and discerning taste moved discreetly through the labyrinthine aisles of Art Basel. Julian Sterling, the reclusive billionaire and renowned art connoisseur, from previous stories, subtly linked through his ethical patronage and interest in unique cultural heritage, was specifically drawn to Lena's obscure booth. He had heard whispers of a ghost in the gallery, an artwork that evoked powerful, inexplicable emotions, and his specialized subtle sensor, which he used for authenticating rare artifacts, had registered a profound, unique energy signature emanating from Lena's corner. He recognized the unique material Lena used, a subtle echo of the chromatic resonance from her grandmother's schematic, a detail he had seen in his own research into lost historical artifacts. He sensed a profound, hidden artistic genius, a truth waiting to be unveiled. Lena's assistant, Clara, the security guard from Chapter 3, had managed to secure a few curious patrons who, encouraged by Clara's quiet suggestion, had closed their eyes and experienced Lena's installation through touch. Their reactions, though private, were deeply moving, a quiet validation amidst the public indifference. Clara also recognized Julian Sterling, knowing his reputation for discerning true, unconventional artistry. She hoped silently for a miracle. The time was running out. The Art Basel Fair was winding down, its final hours ticking away. Lena stood, exhausted and disheartened, beside her useless creations, convinced her last desperate gamble had failed. But Julian Sterling, guided by an unseen force and a profound intuition, was now slowly, methodically, approaching her booth, ready to unveil a truth far greater than any of them could imagine. The bright, cacophonous expanse of Art Basel had begun its final, desperate throes. Lena stood alone beside her installation, disheartened, her shoulders slumped with the crushing weight of impending failure. Critics and collectors, blinded by conventional visual art, passed her by, their dismissive murmurs echoing the cruel words of Mark Thorne. Mark himself stood nearby, a smug, almost triumphant expression on his face, relishing her public failure, convinced he had finally extinguished her rebellious spirit. Just as Lena felt the last flicker of hope dim, Julian Sterling approached her booth. He didn't look at her art. He performed a ritual that captivated the scattered onlookers. He closed his eyes, extended his hands, and began to explore the sculpture purely through touch. His highly trained fingers, accustomed to discerning the most subtle nuances of ancient artifacts, traced its contours with reverence. He felt its complex textures, the unexpected roughness giving way to polished smoothness, the cool surfaces subtly shifting to faint warmth. The minute, almost imperceptible vibrations Lena had meticulously incorporated. His specialized sensor, held discreetly in his palm, flashed wildly, confirming the profound energetic output emanating from the piece. He recognized the precise mathematical patterns woven into the material's reaction, the unique signature of the chromatic resonance device from Lena's grandmother's schematic, a detail he had uncovered in his own research into lost historical artifacts. He also recognized the unique material itself, a composite long thought lost. Julian opened his eyes, a profound awe illuminating his face. He turned to the stunned crowd, his voice, usually reserved, now ringing with an authority that commanded immediate, absolute attention across the entire hall. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, his voice echoing through the vast space, captivating every hushed face, "this is not merely art to be seen, this is art to be felt. A revolutionary, multi-sensory masterpiece that perfectly translates human emotion into light and sound. It is a work of genius that transcends the limitations of conventional perception." He then delivered the stunning revelation, his voice gaining a chilling precision. "And the technology behind it, the chromatic resonance device, was stolen decades ago from the family of this young woman's grandmother, by the founder of Thorne Galleries, a man known for suppressing true innovation for commercial gain." He presented irrefutable evidence, digital forensic reports, historical patent records, and the newly deciphered schematics from Lena's locket that directly linked Mark's family to the theft and suppression of this revolutionary art form. He outlined the entire scheme, how Lena's grandmother's groundbreaking work was deliberately hidden to allow the commercialization of less ethical, more visually appealing but shallow art. He concluded, his voice ringing with triumph. "Miss Lena Vance's current masterpiece uses a perfected version of this stolen technology, creating a profound, truly multi-sensory experience that is beyond anything in the contemporary art world. And this piece alone," he gestured to the installation, "is worth not just millions, but its true value is beyond measure." Mark Thorne, watching from nearby, collapsed as if struck. His face, a moment ago smug, contorted in utter horror and profound defeat. He recognized the chromatic resonance device, the family secret his grandfather had guarded so fiercely, the hidden legacy he had profited from for decades. He realized Lena was the descendant of the very artist his family had wronged, and that her useless art was not only revolutionary, but was about to utterly bankrupt him. His gallery, built on exploitation and lies, began to crumble around him. The entire Art Basel fair erupted. Gasps turned to shouts of astonishment, then a thunderous, emotional standing ovation for Lena. Critics, who had haughtily dismissed her work minutes before, scrambled to reevaluate, their faces aghast as they recognized their profound misjudgment. Collectors clamored to buy, their voices a frenzied chorus. Mark Thorne, utterly undone, attempted to flee, pushing through the bewildered crowd, but he was immediately surrounded by a swarm of bewildered journalists and suspicious art world figures, their questions relentless, their cameras flashing. He was exposed, his empire consumed, brought down by his own arrogance and Lena's unseen, undeniable genius. The global art world, still reeling from the events at Art Basel, witnessed the spectacular downfall of Mark Thorne. The immediate public backlash was ferocious. Investigations into Thorne Gallery's unethical practices, long whispered about in hushed tones, were swiftly launched, uncovering a labyrinthine web of intellectual property theft, price manipulation, and the deliberate suppression of groundbreaking artists. His gallery empire, built on exploitation and deceit, crumbled under the weight of lawsuits and public outrage. Mark Thorne, once a celebrated art dealer, became a pariah, his reputation utterly destroyed, his future bleak. He lost everything, his meticulously curated world of superficial success reduced to ashes. For Lena, the triumph was immense, a profound vindication that resonated to her very core. She was hailed as a revolutionary artist, her work commanding astronomical sums. Galleries worldwide clamored for her multisensory installations, and major museums commissioned new pieces, recognizing her as a pioneer who had redefined the very concept of vision. Her scholarship to Northwood Arts Academy was not only secured but became a full, endowed position, offering her unprecedented resources and academic freedom. More importantly, the funds generated from her art sales provided more than enough for Lily's experimental therapy, ensuring her sister's recovery was no longer a desperate gamble, but a certainty. Julian Sterling, deeply impressed by Lena's quiet strength, her unwavering ethical compass, and her undeniable genius, became her primary patron and collaborator. He poured vast resources into her new studio, a sprawling, state-of-the-art facility, equipped with the finest materials and technology to enhance multisensory creation. Together, they established a new, ethical art movement, a counterpoint to the commercialism and superficiality that had plagued the industry. Julian helped her establish a foundation for inclusive, multisensory art, ensuring that artists with diverse perceptions had a platform and the resources to flourish. One crisp autumn morning, Lena sat with Lily in their new, sun-drenched home, a quiet haven far removed from their cramped past. Lily, her face already brighter, her movements a little stronger from the initial rounds of therapy, clutched a small, intricately textured ball Lena had made for her. "Sister," Lily murmured, her voice gaining strength, "the lights you made, they feel like happiness." Lena's eyes welled with tears, a profound sense of peace washing over her. "They are, Lily. They are." She then shared the full story of Mark's sabotage, the theft of their grandmother's invention, and the long-suppressed legacy of chromatic resonance. She spoke of the decades of injustice, the ethical fight, and how Lily's own struggle had given Lena the courage to reclaim their family's truth. Lily listened, her brow furrowing with understanding, realizing the immense battle her sister had fought. Lena also had a poignant conversation with Clara, the security guard who had been her quiet supporter. Clara visited Lena's new studio, her eyes wide with awe at the space and the profound beauty of Lena's art. "I always knew you had something extraordinary, Lena," Clara confessed. "Even when Professor Thorne, well, he just couldn't see it. Literally." Lena smiled, her gratitude profound. "You saw past the labels, Clara. That's the rarest vision of all." Their bond, forged in a quiet moment of kindness, reinforced the importance of unseen support, of the everyday heroes who make a difference without seeking recognition. Lena's journey had been one of profound vindication, her vision not merely restored, but celebrated, her true legacy embraced. The global art world had undergone a profound transformation, its traditional perceptions challenged and expanded by the undeniable influence of Lena Vance. She was no longer just a world-renowned sculptor. She was a leading advocate for inclusive art, a visionary who had redefined the very concept of artistic expression. Her monumental works, displayed in major museums and public spaces across continents, transcended conventional notions of perception. They were not merely sculptures to be seen, but multi-sensory experiences, designed to be explored through touch, sound, and subtle vibrations, inviting sighted and visually impaired patrons alike to experience beauty in its most profound, encompassing form. Her legacy was etched not just in stone and bronze, but in the countless lives she touched. She established the Echoing Form Foundation, a non-profit organization that had become a global force for good. The foundation funded innovative art programs for visually impaired individuals worldwide, providing resources, mentorship, and opportunities for expression that had once been unimaginable. It championed cutting-edge research into multi-sensory artistic expression, pushing the boundaries of how art could be created and experienced. Lena personally mentored young blind artists, her gentle guidance and unwavering belief empowering them to unlock their own unique visions. Lena never forgot her roots, or the kindness shown to her during her struggling years. She ensured that the children's art therapy program, from her Save the Cat moment, which had first nurtured her selfless spirit, was fully funded and expanded, reaching more underprivileged children than ever before. She often collaborated with Mrs. Henderson, the program's dedicated director, on new initiatives, their shared passion for art as a tool for healing and resilience forming a deep bond. Occasionally, she would make anonymous donations to struggling art schools, ensuring that no raw talent, no unique artistic perspective was ever overlooked or dismissed due to perceived limitations. The story ends on a bright, bustling afternoon in a sunlit public plaza. Lena stood, her form serene, her hands gently tracing the contours of a new, monumental sculpture. It was a soaring, abstract piece of polished metal and textured stone, designed to be experienced rather than merely seen. Blindfolded patrons, guided by Foundation volunteers, moved around the sculpture, their hands outstretched, exploring its intricate surfaces, their faces alight with discovery. The sculpture, designed to embody Lena's inner vision, subtly projected a faint, ethereal light from within its core, a beacon that pulsed with soft, rhythmic vibrations, creating a truly multi-sensory spectacle. Lena touched the silver locket around her neck, its unique family crest now recognized globally as the emblem of the Echoing Form Foundation, a silent testament to the unseen tapestry of beauty she has woven into the world. Her artistry, her resilience, and her profound compassion had transcended blindness, illuminating a path for all to truly see. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming stories.